The state is trying to figure out why fewer people are passing Indiana's bar exam. The number hit an all-time low last February when only 51% of all takers passed. As Barbara Brozier reports, a study commission is looking into what could be contributing to the problem and whether the state needs to make changes.
Emmanuel McMiller has known since 8th grade that he wanted to be a lawyer.
I wanted to help people.
He attended a pre-law academy for high school and then ended up here at the University of Notre Dame.
So this is my third year of law school, so I graduate in May, and then after that I'll be working in Indianapolis.
But he has to pass Indiana's bar exam first. It includes 200 multiple choice questions, an essay portion, and a performance test.
And just trying to hope that the preparation of 3 years in law school and also the bar prep will help.
But it's hard not to think about. McMiller's heard about slipping bar passage rates across the country. Last year, 61% of all takers passed the Indiana exam. At Notre Dame, only a few students take Indiana's version of the test, and the pass rate was 91%. But educators here say the nationwide trend is still cause for concern.
It is a challenge for educators everywhere. We have students who are exceptionally gifted and talented, and we advise all of them the bar exam is going to be difficult no matter where you take it.
Some suggest the plummeting scores nationwide are a reflection of students rather than the exam. When a significant drop happened in 2014, the president of the National Conference of Bar Examiners sent a letter to law schools across the country that said indicators, quote, point to the fact that the group that sat in July 2014 was less able than those who took the exam in the previous year. But leaders at Indiana University's Maurer School of Law say the exam doesn't necessarily test what it truly means to be a good lawyer.
You want a baseline knowledge, but really what we teach them in law school is how to think and how to acquire knowledge. It's not important for your lawyer to have tons of law memorized in her head. It's important that she should be able to access it.
That has some questioning whether the structure and content of the test should change to better reflect what lawyers really need to know. A 2017 report that was a collaboration between bar associations and the state's law schools points to several potential issues with the exam. The state uses what's called the Multi-State Bar Examination, or MBE. The multiple choice portion tests students on everything from criminal law to torts. It makes up half of the overall exam score.
The multi-state, I think, has 14 subjects. In Indiana, if you take our bar exam, you have to know those 14 subjects plus more, many of which are Indiana law's opposite of what the multi-state tests. For example, in some comparative fault, some torts, some criminal law areas, some real estate and probate. It's completely different from what you have to know for the multi-state.
Some states are switching to a different testing format called the Uniform Bar Exam, which is one of several changes a commission will consider in the coming months. The Indiana Supreme Court ordered its creation in response to the unprecedented decline in bar exam passage rates.
I think the court's decision indicates a level of seriousness about the protection of the public. The reason we have bar admissions processes, the reason we have both an ethics screen and a competence exam is to protect citizens who go to lawyers for help.
The court wants the commission to consider several questions, including whether it should lower the passing score on the exam or possibly change some of the content.
The general objective of the test is to establish what is called minimal competence. So there are pieces of law that are important to segments of the population. One of the questions is, do we simply have more than we really need to assure that level of competence?
The commission has until December to draft its recommendations. McMiller will take the bar long before then, but he's glad the state is taking the declining passing rates seriously. After all, the bar is a test he's been preparing for most of his life.
It's definitely a worry, but my main focus right now is getting through the prep material, getting through the semester, and then we'll see where the chips fall.
And reporter Barbara Brozier joins us now. Barbara, so what are attorneys saying about how those lower rates are impacting the profession?
So there's one concern, Joe, about what it could be doing to impact the diversity of the legal field. Now, the state doesn't have a lot of data about how different groups are performing on the test, and that's because a national organization actually scores the exam, but there are worries that if fewer people are passing the exam, the field is then less diverse. So that's something that the study commission is going to be looking into.
Now, you mentioned another exam the state could switch to. What are some of those advantages?
So that's the uniform bar exam, and more than 30 states have adopted this over the past few years. The biggest benefit is that the score is transferable. So that means if you take the UBE in one state and you move to a different state that also has that form of the exam, you don't have to retake the test, and you can just start practicing law, your score holds. But the disadvantage of that exam is it doesn't have some of the Indiana specific things. Like right now we have an Indiana essay portion that's really crucial, educators say. If lawyers are going to be practicing in this state, they need to know that.
So are universities feeling pressure about this now?
Well, you know, they're feeling some pressure, but they're not really teaching to the test. One thing that could change things, though, the American Bar Association is considering raising the percentage of students that would have to pass the bar in order for universities, their law schools, to maintain their accreditation. So that's something to watch for.
Barbara, thank you very much.